Good morning. Thank you for coming. I am here joined by my co-sponsors and Senate sponsor for our bill that will allow reciprocity for medical marijuana, A 1374, and I am pleased to be joined by my partner in the legislature, Senator Nick Scari, who is the prime sponsor in the Senate and has sponsored the compassionate care legislation, and also my co-sponsors in the Assembly, Assemblywoman Mila Jacey and Assemblywoman Celeste Riley. I expect, and Rita Ciora just got here too. We may be joined by others. I'll acknowledge them, and they'll have a chance to speak in a few minutes. When Brian Wilson, the father of a 2-year-old, Vivian, who suffers from Dravet syndrome, a rare form of epilepsy, said to Governor Christie last summer, "Please don't let my daughter die." Parents, grandparents everywhere, all people who love children understood the sentiment and the need that we as adults feel and have to do anything that we can to help desperately ill and debilitated children have a better quality of life and have their symptoms eased. Medical marijuana is legal in New Jersey, but sadly it is not meeting the needs of very many sick patients. It's fair to say that medical marijuana is forging new ground, but it struggles because it seems that the program here in New Jersey is more concerned about preventing abuse than it is about making it work for those who need it. The bill we passed last year fixed a flaw and allowed minors access to edibles, but still that's not available, it's not working. We are creating a new class of medical refugees, of people that are moving out of state because they simply cannot get the medicine that they need for their children. Doesn't have to be that way. That's why I've introduced the legislation that will allow the reciprocity, so that people who are legal participants in this state and that legally participate in another state program that's recognized by New Jersey would be allowed to carry that marijuana in and have access for their desperately ill children and for the adults that need it. Today we are joined not only by my co-sponsors, but by mothers, parents of some very sick children who would like to share their stories as to why this is so important, why we need this legislation, why we're urging the governor to support this legislation so that children will have the medicine that they need. First, I would just like to introduce my Senate sponsor and my partner in the legislature, Senator Nick Scari. He is going to be leaving shortly for his caucus. So, Senator, would you like to say a few words?
Thank you, Linda, and thanks for all your efforts and everyone here. I mean, this is about people. And my question really is, why can't we just get this to work? Why is it that we just can't take reasonable steps to make this program work? I mean, when we introduced this bill years and years ago, it was quite controversial. But I think people have come to grips with the fact that this is recognized law in New Jersey. Medical marijuana should be available to very sick people. And as Linda said earlier, it's really more about regulating something and over-regulating than it is to giving people relief. And if we can't do that for the citizens in the state of New Jersey, what are we doing here? Why are we here but other than to improve people's lives? Rather than worry about the political implications of that's something that we're going to do. Let's do the right thing for the people in New Jersey. Let's do the right thing for these poor suffering people and allow them to get this type of medication that it is clear will help live better, allow them to live better lives. I support Linda's efforts in this. I have supported it all the way through. Obviously, I introduced it years ago, and no one else thought it was fashionable. And now we're at the point where we understand that this is something that is good for people in a certain controlled way. We recognize that this is a reality of our communities, and I think it's time for the administration to stop worrying about the political concerns about and do what's right for people. Let's get some reasonable regulations that allow people to get this medication in whatever form will help them most, under the guidance of a doctor. And stop with the gotchas, this wasn't in the bill, that's this, that's that. This is a way that we're not going to let them get it. We can't let them go out of state and bring it back. Enough already. Let's just help people. That's all I have to say today. Thank you.
Thanks very much. I want to thank everybody who's come out today. And as we look around the room, we see the pictures of many children that are represented here today as patients in need of this. And there are stories and sad stories that are being shared and told across the state. But this morning I would like to first ask Jenny Storms to come up and tell us about her son Jack and share one more compelling testimony as to why we need this legislation passed and why we need to make this program work. Thank you very much, both of them.
Thank you, Assemblywoman Stender. Governor Christie has done his part to destroy the 2010 medical cannabis program in New Jersey with burdensome regulations, unclear goals, underreported progress, and secret policies which create barriers for those who are most in need. Governor Christie has managed to create a program that will not work, will not offer compassion, and requires drastic changes to the existing regulations, which have been set up to create failure within the program that my son so desperately needs. His policies and standards of operation in New Jersey preclude my son and many others from having access to full compassion so that they can have relief from the symptoms and the pain that they suffer every day. So let me share with you my story. Can you imagine how your life changed when you have children? Well, I do. It was amazing. I had many big hopes and dreams for both my children, not just Jackson. Then at the age of 4 months, Jackson began shaking. He stiffened in his body like a board, and he turned blue, and he was having a seizure. First seizure I'd ever seen. Didn't know what was going on, but this is when my world really, really changed. Since that day in 1999, Jackson has failed over 50 different prescription drug combinations. He's had 2 brain surgeries. He's had 2 VNS implant surgeries. He's had restrictive, nutritionally incomplete diet treatments without success and many alternative treatments. We have grasped at any hope of treatment, including importing a medication from France, which was at the time the only known medication to treat Dravet syndrome, and it didn't work. It stopped working soon after, enough, with unbearable side effects. He had GI upset, anorexia, muscle wasting. He lost 10 pounds in 10 days despite eating 4,000 calories a day. The known side effects of the other drugs that Jack has been subjected to over the last 14 years include aggression, self-abuse, suicidal thoughts and actions, severe behavior, increased seizures, insomnia, blood disorders, blindness, and death. All of these are listed side effects from the FDA-approved drugs for adult use, and I have seen Jackson intubated, on life support, and clinging to life too many times for a mother to have to count. Well, today Jackson is 14 years old. He has been a New Jersey medical marijuana card holder since February of 2013. He is currently on low doses of 2 anti-epileptic meds with high CBD, THC, and THCA. He is no longer addicted to the 3 separate narcotics which he was on for over 13 years. He was on phenobarbital, Klonopin, and Onfi for 13 years. He's no longer on the ketogenic diet, nutritionally deficient diet, where he had to take 6 different nutritional supplements to supplement that diet to control his seizures, which did not work. And of course, Steripental, the non-FDA approved drug, which is over $1,000 a month. Imported from France, he's no longer on that. We're simply on a very low dose of Depakote, 50% of his original dose, and 50% of his dose of Anzil. As of today, Jackson is 101 days narcotic-free. He's not required any emergency narcotic medications or hospitalization since his last hospital discharge in November of 2013. He was originally going through 5 to 6 doses a week on bad weeks. So can you imagine politics ruling your medical care? In spring 2013, Jack was hospitalized while weaning off a barbiturate, phenobarbital. After being on it for 13 years, it was very dangerous. He was successfully using medical cannabis, high in CBD, and also a New Jersey card holder. The risk management team at Hackensack University Medical Center would not allow Jackson to stay in the hospital, even though he needed that level of medical care and observation with the withdrawal symptoms he was experiencing. His neurologist and a nurse supervisor had to come into the hospital room in the EMU where he was being monitored and told us to choose between 1, staying in the hospital, or 2, his life-saving cannabis medicine. Going home was dangerous, and staying in the hospital and abruptly stopping the medication while in the hospital was equally dangerous. The cannabis was the only thing stopping his seizures after 14 years, and so we had to choose to go home. Cannabis is working. Despite being loaded with another narcotic, Ativan, and receiving 3 doses of emergency Versed and 2 doses of rectal Valium, Jackson had 3 seizures on I-80 in his car on the hour ride home. He had another 5 seizures that night and into the next morning. It took 3 days to stabilize him at home with close contact and management over the phone with the neurologist, not in the hospital. Why Was Jackson kicked out of the hospital for using medication approved by the state of New Jersey? Fear? Ignorance? I don't know. But I can tell you the situation could have been corrected, and it never would have occurred if Governor Christie would have signed into law and not vetoed S 1220. He vetoed that on January 21st of 2014. This bill would have given doctors, hospitals, and other medical professionals in the state guidance from the state as to the treatment of cannabis when clearly used as medicine and not recreational. S 1220 would have also made New Jersey citizens eligible for organ transplants. My son and others have a right to receive medically necessary care in a hospital and from their doctor in the state of New Jersey. So can you imagine knowing the medicinal benefits and nothing changes? August 2013, Sanjay Gupta, a doctor, stated that we have all been misled for decades, and he apologized for his part in the hypocrisy. He advised that cannabis should be reclassified to a more appropriate schedule, and nothing has been done. January 2014, President Obama, he publicly stated that cannabis is not more harmful than alcohol. He denies being able to do anything about the scheduling of cannabis, and again, nothing has been done. February 2014, the Epilepsy Foundation, a national foundation, calls for an increase in medical cannabis access and research. Change is needed for the sake of those who suffer from epilepsy and many other disorders. Recently, we have asked Governor Christie for change in New Jersey for cannabis and children. He issued a conditional veto allowing for edible cannabis for minors only while lifting the 3-strain limitation and keeping the costly and unrelated 3-doctor requirement. So my question to everyone here, what happens when Jackson turns 18 and is considered an adult? Likewise, many adults already would benefit from these edibles and these concentrates. No one asked an important question as to why edibles are only for minors. These minors with debilitating chronic lifelong disorders will not be able to abruptly change the medication easily or safely. These children do not become non-disabled at the magic age of 18 years old. Jackson's medical needs will not change just because he has a birthday. How will the program offer compassion to my son once he turns 18? Hospice patients in need now, those with oxygen can't smoke the marijuana currently available. Those with COPD have limited ability as well. They can't smoke the medicine. Everyone needs a choice in delivery method of their medication, even if that medication is cannabis. In December 2013, Governor Christie stated that he is done expanding the existing medical cannabis program in New Jersey. There was legislation introduced as to access to appropriate medication from out of state when not available in the state of New Jersey. I would like to ask the governor why. Why are you done considering compassion for those who suffer every day in pain, with seizures, and for those who are losing their vision? Why do you not care about the most helpless citizens in your state? Tell me why you only care about my child, a New Jersey citizen, if he's under the age of 18. Why does he qualify but not deserve access to the medication your state approved doctors are recommending as a last resort option after failing so many drugs, diets, brain surgery, implants, and other alternative treatments? I am sure that there will be no answer since I have consistently asked to meet with him and he has refused to meet with me, but I would love to have that conversation. Change is needed in the medicinal cannabis program here in New Jersey. On February 20th of this year, Assemblyman Reed Gusciora held a regulatory oversight committee hearing regarding the implementation of the medical cannabis program. I hope that the concerns were heard and the changes are coming for the state of New Jersey because we need it. We need our laws to be restored to the intent of the law. Governor Christie, I would like an answer as to why you have no intention on expanding the existing program. You offer compassion but make it unaffordable. You offer compassion but it is unattainable. You offer compassion but intimidate and scare interested physicians. You offer compassion, then regulate the program to the point of never being able to work. When confronted by parents and your re-election is at stake, you give enough to get re-elected at the expense of the older children and the adults who you need to offer compassion to as well. If this program is truly about compassion, then stop impeding the program. Meet with myself, other parents, other patients, interested advocate groups, and hear what we need, what we require and live, and what is needed to make this program work, as I have offered. Can you imagine being told by your governor what medications to take for your medical condition, and he will not allow the one medication that is finally working after 14 years? Instead, he begins to practice medicine without the proper education from a recognized medical school and interferes with effective medical treatment in the name of politics. Can you imagine being a parent of a special needs child with a rare genetic disorder, which has created a very fragile medical situation, and the one treatment which is working were to be illegal, and you could not get that help for your child. That is what my life has become. I am tortured every day having to choose between treating my child and giving him a quality of life and possibly going to jail, or to just keep pumping him full of medications which are not working and stealing what is left of his life. So here's the situation. I'm not a criminal, I'm not a politician, I'm not an activist. I'm a mother, I'm a citizen of New Jersey, and I'm a professional pediatric registered nurse. I've been turned into an activist, and I will not stop advocating for this amazing plant. I do this for my son, and I do it for many others in need of this medication who live in this state. Jackson deserves this now. New Jersey deserves this now. Since 2010, the New Jersey program has failed to serve the citizens of New Jersey with compassion as it was intended. And I would like to call for more educational hearings and education, an investigation into the many issues raised on February 20th within the existing medicinal marijuana program. After 4 years, the program should be operational and functional. Do not let this program be another disappointment of the state of New Jersey under the current governor and yet another scandal or victim of political strategies. And let me leave you with one quote from Harry Reid, U.S. Senate Majority Leader. If you asked me this question a dozen years ago, it would have been really easy to answer. I would have said no, because marijuana leads to other stuff. But I can't say that anymore. I think we need to take a real close look at this. I think there's some real medicinal reasons for marijuana. Thank you.
Thank you, Jenny, for sharing your story and for offering too many examples of the work that needs to be done on this program, and as to why we need reciprocity while we make the choices and move forward. Next, I'm going to ask Phil and Paul and Joanna to come up. Their story is another story, and sadly one that we were not able, where they did not get the help.
Hello, good morning. My name is Phil Joanna. I'm here to represent my daughter Sabina Rose and any other child that suffers from Dravet syndrome. I am also here representing the Love Nugget Foundation, a foundation created in memory of my daughter, and fights for common sense laws and common sense laws to help in medical advancements for children with various forms of epilepsy. On December 2nd, 2013, I held my precious baby girl as her heart stopped. I listened to my wife a few minutes earlier sing to her, hoping that she would respond and not be brain dead. My daughter Sabina Rose had Dravet syndrome, a catastrophic form of epilepsy that does not respond to medications. She tried and failed 6 different medications, and was on 4 of those at the time of her death. I never thought that I would have to live through the tragedy of my daughter being sick, watching her have countless seizures, and never knowing if this would be the one to take her away from me. Day after day, not knowing that she would have appropriate access to medicine, and sadly, at the young age of 15, taking her off a ventilator. I never thought that my daughter would only celebrate 1 birthday, 1 Christmas, 1 Halloween, and put her feet in the ocean once. The only thing that she had 2 of was Christmas dresses. Her second one was one in a casket. I never thought as a father I would be helpless in helping her. I spent many nights sleeping next to her in the ICU. I made our living room a safe place to play for her. I never thought that I would have one chance to push her on a swing at the playground. I never thought that my son Rocco would grow up without his big sister. The fact is, Governor Christie, if my daughter had access to compassionate care without the impossible hurdles that have been put in place by legislators, the people that we elect to work for our families, she would be alive today. Sabina Rose was born August 21st, 2012, At 6 months old, she started having seizures. Over the next 9 months, as I said, she was prescribed 6 different FDA-approved medications and was on 4 of those at the time of her death in December of 2013. I need an explanation as to why it's okay for my daughter to take medications, benzodiazepines, FDA-approved medication with side effects including hair loss, elevated liver functions, inability to regulate body temperature, self-injurious behavior, anxiety, and the list continues. The benzodiazepines are known to cause chemical dependency and severe toxic side effects. Not only did these medications not help her, they caused more damage to her already exhausted, tiny little body and did nothing to improve her quality of life. When was the bill passed that approved giving these highly toxic and addictive medications to children? None of these prescribed medications were successful in arresting her seizures either. We were in the process of applying for a medical marijuana card, but the laws in New Jersey prevented quick and easy access to compassionate care. It was not the doctors, it was the laws in New Jersey that held up the process. As a result of the failing New Jersey medical marijuana program and the failed FDA medications, Sabina Rose passed away December 2nd, 2013 at 2:06 in my arms due to a prolonged tonic-clonic seizure. Appropriate access to medical marijuana in appropriate forms such as high CBD oil could have saved her life, as well as the 7 and 8 other children that has passed away from Dravet syndrome since she has died. Sabina was a magical baby, always happy and loved by everyone. Her baby brother will never get to know her. He will never see her dance. He will only see her in his dreams. No one, no adult, and certainly no child with epilepsy should have to take any medication that does not work. Medical marijuana would have saved her life. You don't hear about kids in Colorado, California, or any other state where cannabis is available having status seizures, being put into a medically induced coma, and ultimately losing their battle and their little bodies and brain. Cannot take it anymore. At one time, it was my purpose to be Sabina's father. I will always be Sabina's father. However, now, my new and additional purpose in life is to fight for the change of laws both on federal and state levels to try to prevent the unnecessarily and untimely deaths of other children suffering from Dravet syndrome. If there is no access to this strain of medical marijuana, high CBD oil, the state we pay taxes to and want to raise our families in, then allow families in need to find the life-saving medicine in other states and bring it back to New Jersey to treat our children. The fact still remains that the New Jersey medical marijuana program does not work efficiently. The Department of Health does not do their job in regulating and monitoring the doctors and making sure everything is running properly. My daughter is dead because she did not get a chance. There's no time. We thought we had time. Dravet syndrome is a death sentence, if not treated properly. No parent should feel the way that me and my wife do. No parent should bury their child. Something needs to change. Thank you.
Thank you, Phil, and Paula, who's here as well. His mother, here, everybody shares your grief and determination that no other family should have to suffer as you have suffered. And finally, I'd like to ask Tina DeSilvio to come forward. Tina is the mother of a child with a seizure disorder.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Tina DeSilvio. I'm a mom to 2 beautiful daughters, Genevieve and Savannah Toy, ages 14 and 10, respectively. I stand before you all today, not only as a parent, but also as Jenna's advocate. Born October 2nd, 1999, Jenna was a very healthy and pleasant baby. During the first 2 years of her life, nearly all of the anticipated milestones were met. However, the tides began to change on December 7, 2001, when she experienced her first seizure. After various tests and exams with a neurologist and genetic counselor, Jenna was eventually diagnosed with a rare genetic disorder called double cortex syndrome. Throughout the years, drastic changes have occurred for Jenna, with a seizure frequency and various types experienced. What once occurred only upon awakening, seizures now take their toll on Jenna at any time of the day and during the evening while she is asleep. Over the past 12 years, we have tried over 10 types of anti-seizure medications, all of which have been unsuccessful. As well, Jenna is on her second vagus nerve stimulator. Neither have worked to decrease the seizures. The hardest decision came when her neurologist suggested brain surgery. By this time, Jenna was wearing a protective helmet after various injuries due to drop seizures. On September 13, 2010, Jenna had corpus callosotomy, severing the left and right sides of her brain to stop the seizure communication. 3 weeks after brain surgery, Jenna was discharged on her 9th birthday. The past 2 years have been especially trying on our family. Our once happy and loving daughter began to fall into a dark and depressing place. Jenna began banging her head and picking at her body until she bled. She would scream no for what seemed like forever, all the while crying hysterically. In less than a year, Jenna had lost over 20 pounds from eating and getting sick to her stomach. Feeling heartsick and desperate, I knew it was time for me to start thinking outside of the box. And with that, I began researching medical benefits associated with cannabis. Which brings me to the New Jersey medical marijuana program. I set about to obtain the medical marijuana card for Jenna, not realizing I was opening up Pandora's box. For starters, my daughter and I had to travel 4 hours round trip to a doctor qualified in the program who, at the time, was the only doctor seeing any pediatric patients. Next, I searched for a psychiatrist to write a letter of recommendation. This was not an easy task since my daughter had never needed psychiatric help before. I was lucky to be referred to one that was willing to see us in New York City. Lastly, I collected a letter of recommendation from my daughter's pediatrician. All told, this process took me over 6 aggressive months to finally retain the medical marijuana card for my daughter. I should also point out the money spent on doctors and application fees, fingerprinting and travel were well over $800. With no edibles available just yet, I decided to make a tincture with the medical marijuana. For only 1 ounce, it cost $535, including tax. Considering this is being sold and used for medicinal purposes, I was taken by surprise that it was taxable. Edible forms of medical marijuana should be available for all patients, which in turn would open the door for dispensaries to offer a product in mass demand. There are many adults in the program who cannot or prefer not to smoke it. In less than 4 years, my daughter will no longer be eligible for the program as she'll be 18 years old. Once the tincture was complete, I contacted the Department of Health in New Jersey to arrange testing for my finished product. After numerous unreturned phone calls, I finally spoke with someone who informed me that New Jersey does not offer testing on any finished products. And all they had to offer me was, I'm sorry. The obstacles we experienced this past year to treat our deteriorating daughter has been nothing short of a program set up for failure. For starters, the application process and fees for the program are intimidating. $200 from go. Only to back that with the prices charged for the cannabis. There are no programs to assist these costs. There are many patients who cannot work due to their illnesses. I have not been able to hold down a full-time job since Jenna became ill over 12 years ago, which has been a burden on our household income. Governor Christie has made it clear he will not expand the medical marijuana program, claiming ultimately we only want to legalize it in a whole. Although I'm not opposed to the legalization, my only agenda is the medical aspect in order to treat my daughter. Had there been opportunities for communication between the patients and the Department of Health, many of these concerns could have been addressed already. In order to have a Compassionate Care Act, one should act as if they truly are compassionate. Thank you.
The stories are heartbreaking, the problems are many. This program's not working. Hopefully today, with these voices being raised and shared, the stories being shared, that the governor and the legislature will come together and start to make the changes to make this program function. It's not going to be a straight line to get it to where we want it to be. And in the meanwhile, the easiest, fastest thing is to allow reciprocity so that families can have access while we implement a program and make the changes that we need to change. I'm proud to be joined by co-sponsors today. I'll ask Celeste Riley first to say hello, one of the co-sponsors.
I thank Linda for inviting me here. I also was contacted by Tina DeSilvio. She's a member, a constituent in my district who, you just heard her story about her daughter Jenna. And it's extraordinary when we know what the answer is as mothers. We have a sick child and we know the answer. And government regulations are stopping you from getting the answer to actually improving the quality of life of your child. We have clearly issues here that we know what they are. Affordability issues, we have access issues, and we have control issues, product control issues. These are things that we can solve. These are problems that we can solve. So I stand here with my fellow legislators saying that I will join this effort and this problem will be solved. I ask you to go back to your legislators, all of you that are here. I ask you to also write to your legislators and to your senators and also the governor, because ultimately it's going to be on his desk, isn't it? And we need his support. So with that being said, I thank you very much for coming out today and thank you for your support.
Thank you. Assemblywoman Marla J.
Very briefly, I think pretty much everything that needs to be said has been said, and I think what you need is our continued support of these efforts. I just want to read a very brief statement about Vivi Wilson. Vivi Wilson's grandparents, and she suffers from Dravet, live in my district, in Florham Park. After unnecessary and undue delay, the governor finally signed legislation that we brought before him that was designed, as you know, to expand the availability of medical marijuana to minors. But for Vivi, it was not enough. She suffers from a rare form of epilepsy, something you've heard about earlier from parents, Dravet syndrome, which has subjected her to hundreds of seizures every day. It's a life-threatening condition, and even though she is a registered medical marijuana patient, our state's restrictive laws and the medical community's unwillingness to participate is preventing her from getting the help she needs. Vivi's parents are talking about moving to Colorado so that Vivi can get the treatment she needs. I'm a parent and a grandparent, and I have grandchildren who live here in New Jersey. The thought that their parents, my son and my daughter-in-law, would have to leave our family, their doctors, friends, their support system, and move across the country to get treatment for one of my grandchildren is unbelievably impossible for me to imagine and unconscionable and unnecessary, should be unnecessary. And therefore I'm asking all of you, for Vivi, for her parents, for the families represented here, and others who need the medicinal benefits of medical marijuana and who are being unreasonably denied it, to stand up for what's right, to tell the governor to sign the legislation that will expand the medical marijuana law so that Vivi, her family, and all those in similar positions can get what they need without having to leave the state of New Jersey to do so. Thank you, and I appreciate Assemblywoman Stender's leadership and Senator Scari's leadership on this issue.
Rita Ciara, sponsor.
Thank you, Linda. We should not have regulations that make a law less compassionate and less caring, and oftentimes we see that these regulations are indeed onerous, especially for the recertification. I'd like to see us do away with the recertification. Imagine somebody with MS have to recertify to the state that they have MS. And also the doctor registry seems to be not working because a lot of doctors aren't signing up, and oftentimes the doctors are outside of the health network. So we need to streamline the regulations. We're not expanding the program, we're just facilitating so that the program can indeed be compassionate and caring and I stand shoulder to shoulder with Linda and the other fine sponsors to make that happen in New Jersey. Thank you.
Our last speaker will be Assemblyman Pat Dygan.
It is rare. I've been in the legislation. This is now my 13th year. And I really, when I was standing there, I was thinking to myself, never since I've been down here have I been embarrassed and about actually borderline ashamed of our state. This is, we all know, this isn't about what's best for kids or folks in need. This is about politics. And we all know who's standing in the way here. The governor who's a few feet up the hall. I just want to congratulate Linda and Nick for taking the leadership on this. It's unacceptable. We have to do whatever needs to be done to make this available. And all I can say is, on behalf of everybody, we will do what we can. But please, Governor, if you are listening, listen to these folks. Have a heart. I was thinking of the biblical quote, whatever you do for the least of my brothers, that you do unto me. How can anybody with a heart block this? So we are on your side. We will do what we can. And hey, I just want to thank you all for your courage. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. These stories are tragic, and they are unnecessary. We can fix this, and we can do it now. We stand together with the parents who have gathered, and stand for the children whose pictures are before us. Stand up to this administration and say, change this law, make the medical marijuana program work. Let's not create any more medical refugees in this state. Let's not ask families to be uprooted like the Wilsons are and others have done to get the help that they need for their children. We can do this, and we will continue to move forward. I look forward to the bill that provides reciprocity being passed and getting to the governor's desk, so that it allows us the time for these changes to be implemented and people can get the care and relief that they need. Thank you very much. Yes, I'll take questions.
Can you talk about the reciprocity bill?
Yes.
Where it is? Do you have support from leadership to post it in both houses for
Yes.
vote?
We do have support, and I expect it will be moving hopefully before we go into budget break, or in this session, in this season, certainly before the budget goes. The bill, A 1374, permits state medical marijuana patients and primary caregivers to possess and patients to use medical marijuana legally obtained in another jurisdiction. The program has to be recognized by the state. I mean, it's a very controlled program, one more time. But it will offer the ability for patients who are in the program, who have already gone through the hoops and the expense and the challenges and have been accepted into the program, to at least be able to get access to the medicine they know they need from a program in another state.
And the bill that you're here talking about today, the other bill.
Well, the reciprocity is the one that we were talking about. We've heard other speakers speak to the issue of making, there's a whole list of changes. And I think that that we will continue to push for that, but it's not going to, even if that bill passed today, we know that based on our experience with the edibles for children, that from the time of being signed into implementation, when Governor Christie signed that bill last year, I think we all had this expectation that it was going to be readily available, that these edible forms were going to be there, and they are just not. And based on what we see and our experience, it's probably another year away. So that's why the reciprocity has to be done first, so that families don't have to be uprooted, and then we can hopefully at that point the compelling testimony and stories will really connect with this governor so that he will finally open up and admit that the program's not working. We need to continue to make more changes and to be concerned about making the program work for the people who are in the program, more so than being concerned about abuses, which is where his priority is at this point.
And what do you think is different right now? I mean, there have been advocacy for a long time around these issues. Is it the parents coming forward and telling their story that's driving it, or is there something else that's happening that's giving you encouragement? When you have a governor that says, hey, no way am I going to do anything.
Every time a parent stands up and tells their heartbreaking stories like we've heard this morning from Jenny and from Phil and from Tina, it I think opens moves us down the road in a new way, and it ought not to be that way. People should not have to suffer the tragedies that they have already suffered. But I think that there's a critical mass coming together, that there's an acknowledgement and acceptance in the general public, that because there is so much anecdotal evidence of how effective this is working and helping, that's making a difference and it matters.
Question? Have you had any discussion with the New Jersey Hospice and Palliative Care Association? They support this bill. They have from the beginning. They've testified over the years on it. And it occurs to me that they've got some 20,000 plus people under their care who will be dead within 6 months, as being a very good reason to look at it for adults, that they might be able to make the point better than other adults could for them, because a lot of times people do die behind closed doors, and perhaps they'd be willing to help you make that point.
I have not spoken directly to them, but I think that's a very good suggestion and something that we will move forward on, because look, we are forging new ground. This is new territory. We know it. There's a lot happening around the issue of marijuana, around legalization. You're starting to see it around the country. It's finally changing after many years, and that supports what we're trying to do for the medical needs of people.
And you're doing a great job on it.
Oh, well, thank you. So are you. So is everybody. Any other questions?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
It was about one of her questions. Were you saying that if you have a medical marijuana license in New Jersey, they're going to allow it to get your medicine in different states?
If you are a legal participant, what the bill in front of us, my bill 81374 says is that if you are a legal participant in New Jersey, so you've got your card, and you've applied in a state that has a legal program, right, that you would be able to bring that medicine in. I mean, there's a process in place, but the idea is that because of all of the difficulties that surround marijuana in general, the usage of it, that we want to allow parents to be, if in the case of the Wilsons, which is the family that is in part of my district and have moved now to Colorado, that we started with this because it would have allowed them to at least go. They were accepted into the program in Colorado and bring that medicine back into New Jersey, not have to be worried that as they got off the plane that they could have their child taken away from them, that they would end up arrested and in jail, and that it would create a framework so that while all the issues that have been touched on, the framework is not in place. There just is not. We don't have labs to test for the efficacy. We don't have a supply chain that is consistent, that we can rely upon. I mean, there are many challenges to making this program work for the people who need it. And under the best of circumstances, it takes time to put in place, because I think that we all understand that we don't want this plant material abused any more than we would want any other drug to be abused. But it's just not there yet. So.
What about the extracts and the oils that could actually help and cure cancer?
Well, that's what we're trying to get to. We've got a long road in front of us, and as we've seen, this is moving one step at a time, so we still have many steps to take to get us to where we want it to be. And I think we will get there. The challenge is going to be getting it there soon enough for the people who need it now.
Right.
Can I just ask a quick follow-up about the New Jersey, would patients would be able to travel out of state and bring medicine into the state of New Jersey? how about patients that other states recognize? Being so close in proximity to Pennsylvania, Delaware, New York, you would really think a state like New Jersey would be one of the ones that recognizes other states' recommendations and IDs. Is that something that we could move forward?
Well, that's what the bill is. That bill says if you're a card-carrying member of the medical marijuana program in New Jersey, and you've been accepted into another established medical marijuana program in another state, that there are limitations on the amount that you can transport because it is being very tightly controlled. So we are, I think, trying to find our way, and there are many changes to come that need to happen.
Just what about perhaps like somebody from Philadelphia who wants to go to Atlantic City on vacation for the weekend, or some sort of a trip? Somebody who comes from California. I have a California recommendation. My condition is not a qualifying condition here in New Jersey.
Then in this instance, you would not be able to transport. You have to be accepted into this program as well as into the program in another state. So.
And is there a reason we're not trusting the other states sanctioning their doctors?
We are trying to implement a program that's going to work, and we're trying to get it done in a way that we can make it happen. And so for right now, we're leaving them. That's the constraints that we're going to work with.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
I have a two-part question. One is piggybacking off of Colleen's. I have a California card also.
Right.
And I think that New Jersey not recognizing that is a problem. The second problem, maybe you can clarify this for me. Is it true or not in New Jersey, if you have a criminal record for marijuana, you're not allowed on New Jersey's medical marijuana program?
I believe that is true, and I think that the issue is that California, the California law is seen as very, very expansive, and that we are proceeding cautiously as we forge into new territory.
But the problem, I think, if you have a medical condition, it doesn't really matter whether you have
well, in our state it does matter right now. So,
you think that's right or not?
I think that right now, I support medical marijuana, and I support it being used properly, and we're trying to make that work and implement.
But not with people who have criminal records.
And I got to piggyback off of that question. I have, I got arrested when I was younger for that, because I had, symptoms. But now, his state says for Tourette syndrome, it helps people. So why couldn't I get that if New Jersey finally said that it's okay for Tourette syndrome, but now I can't have it because I got arrested for it? That doesn't make any sense.
We've got a long road to go, and we're not going to be able to fix all the problems at this point. We are trying to move forward in a thoughtful way to make the program work for sick people, and that's where we're at this point. So I thank you very much for coming, and I have a voting session to get to. Thank you.